the thing with ancestral karma is that it's linked to the things that make up us. It's the imprints, it's the sludge, it's the old stories of victimhood, the old stories of betrayal. It's the stuff that your grandfather, your grandmother, 7 generations back did, and it creates a ripple effect. And then it creates then within us a possible opportunity to either break free out of that, or we kind of get stuck in it. And that's essentially all we're doing. And how that shows up in our lives is that we either have these addictions, or we have outbursts emotionally, anger or overwhelming bouts of grief, or we start being very reactionary to people that we love in our lives. Those are ancestral imprints that, oftentimes in the personal development world, they'll say things like, oh, do your positive affirmations and, keep repeating it with your mind. And the more you repeat it in your mind, the more it will ingrain into your system. But that's not the full picture, because there's a whole energetic blueprint around your aura that if you don't clear, then it doesn't matter how many times you repeat with your mind, it's still there. How many people do you know in your life who goes, oh yeah, I went to that quit smoking workshop, or I saw that hypnotherapist and I'm gonna quit my smoking now, and then something shifts, it goes back, right? Because when you do something from the mind, it takes a very long time to set that pattern. Whereas when you heal something energetically, you're going right to the source of the wound. You're going right to the source of where it started from, right? Where did you acquire the bad habit, if you will? It's not just you. You can't just, little old you are not just responsible for all of the addictive patterns. It's the whole timeline of your ancestry that you have to go in and look at. 33% of what it is that you choose to do with your life comes from, personal will, your free will as a human being. The other 33% comes from the stars and what's happening in the transits, and you're being affected by the environment around you. This planet moves, and then all of a sudden you're feeling all kinds of ways, and then this planet moves, and then constellations start to do their thing. The other third, right, the other 33% is from your blueprint. It's what you've inherited. In epigenetics, actually, the study of how emotional behaviors and how gene expression is not just you inheriting a bunch of XY chromosomes. Oh, you have a possible dormant gene that could create breast cancer or whatever it is, right? It's a lot more than that. The genes are holding the codes to emotional history. My parents are refugees, right? So they fled communism because they were from landowning families and they sought asylum in the States. And so in that timeline, there's a lot of violence, like you were saying, and a lot of betrayal, right, from their country, their culture. That goes way, way, way back. I go straight to anger. Like when I'm not in my most aligned self, I will pop too, right? That's, how some people go straight to crying. No, I will start a fight. And in order to not let anger overwhelm me, to overwhelm us, we have to look at where it all came from. And a lot of that is the injustice. That's the theme in my family line. It's like, oh, they are out to get us again. Oh, they're taking that away again. Oh, they're out to get us and hurt us. And then having to really work on removing that energetically. Now, it's hard to talk about how that works energetically, but when you have cleared it, it feels like a physical purge. You either vomit, you shake, you can scream, you can let out a guttural cry. It doesn't look very pretty. It's a massive energetic detox, and that's kind of what is needed. It's not just a cognitive thing, because most people they go back and they go, oh, well, when I was 2, my mother dropped me on my head, and so, but whatever it is, I don't know, I'm just making stuff up, but you know what I mean? It's not just restricted to the events that have happened in this life. So it's not about how old or how young you are as a soul. We all come from source. It's just that some of us have more remembered experiences than others. And whatever those experiences are, we do need to clear the karmic plate, because you can think of your karma as like all the bags you carry with you to the airport. If you're carrying with you all this stuff that's not yours, you're not going anywhere. That plane's not taking off. In many indigenous cultures around the world, in my shamanic lineage, they talk about healing the ancestors of tomorrow. Your future and your past are directly interwoven. So everyone knows rivers, for most rivers, go downstream. There's very few that go up in the world, but most rivers go downstream. But then there's an energetic current that goes underneath the river that kind of creates this loop. If you can imagine your life, you're gently row your boat gently down the stream of life. There you are, right? And then all kinds of shit happens to you along the way. We tend to think that we're just a product of everything that happened from back there up the stream, right? But as we move further down the timeline, you get pulled down by, let's say, a riptide, right? And that's where you go through your healing, and it feels like a death. And then you go back up the stream and you start clearing some stuff from way back when. But yet you did it downstream. So the future and the past all of a sudden merge. How it looks like in yourself is that we start repeating patterns that we thought we got over. It shows up in that way. It shows up in peeling off different layers. At the end of the day, I think it's important to have your own experiences and to make your own opinions and decisions off of that. So if it is important to look at spiritual health, because spiritual health encompasses mental, emotional, because we use the mental and the emotional to change energy. That's if we change our emotions, we are shifting the energy, right? If we keep getting into the same destructive, let's say abusive relationship pattern, or we keep getting into this I'm broke, I don't have enough scarcity thing, I don't have enough funds to live on, I'm a victim to the system type of mentality that a lot of people kind of get stuck into. We all are very, susceptible to that because we're not wanting to do the deep energetic work to break out of it. I'm speaking very broadly, but in the queer community, there is this thing with religion and with spirituality. So you either kind of go one way or the other. I used to be a very atheistic kid because I was like, oh, well, the world's really hard. Everyone hates me. So there's no God. I'm just gonna die and become like a pebble when I decompose. That's where I came from, but then life took me a different way and I started having experiences, things that I can't really explain, all types of things happening to me energetically. You can't close your eyes and go, you can deny that you didn't have that experience, but it happened. And then it starts to shift the way that you see the world. When you start to shift your outlook, you start to reinvestigate how you can make spirituality yours as a queer person. It doesn't follow this dogmatic way of what the Pope says or what the Dalai Lama says, even for that matter, right? So because all religions follow some structure that is a little bit based on hierarchy and control, right? And so a lot of the work we do as queer people is to reclaim our personal sovereignty, which is your direct connection to the divine. It's like you have to have a daily chat with God in a way, but in your definition of you have to redefine it, right? You have to feel it. It has to move through your physical. But then yet we so badly want that because we're biologically wired to want what the rest of the sheep are. We want to be in that safety bubble of being the sheep. But we were born to be black sheep, so embrace your black sheepness. Right? You were meant to be the black sheep. I moved 9,000 miles away from my family because they want me to be the white sheep. The darkness is the moist, rich earth. If you were buried under soil, you can't see what's in front of you. It's very much the unknown. It's the darkness of night. It's club life, but that's more of an unconscious kind of thing. Like, it's not to say you can approach, nightlife with a sense of consciousness, but for the most part, people go into the club life to avoid, right? But we're talking about going into shadow work with total headlights on, like, ooh, I'm gonna go and explore, like we're going into a cave to mine. The darkness is also represented in indigenous cultures by the Dark Mother. In Hindu tradition, it's Kali with her blue face and her tongue sticking out, and she's, all fierce and very fearsome. And it can be scary at first. A lot of the deities in Tibetan Buddhism, they look very frightening. They look like devils, right? But in Eastern tradition, we are taught that it's not what it seems, right? So that deity that looks like a demon is actually there to help you grow and to remind you about certain parts of yourself, right? And that's the shadow. So we can be consumed by the shadow, and that's where it feels a little bit not so sustainable or healthy. But we can also dive into the shadow in a very conscious way and then make the shadow our ally. So this is our potential. Yeah, there's different states of meditation. Sometimes people kind of think about, they go, oh, enlightenment. They think about that kind of meditation. They're like, oh, that's really far-fetched. I'm not going to be a Buddha. Like, that's not going to happen. There's various stages along the way that take you to deeper and deeper and deeper states. And then when you tap into those really deep states of manifestation, you can only manifest from a place of, well, that's not true. You can manifest from a place of woundedness, but then your manifestations come out all wonky. Or you can manifest from a whole healed state where you know who you are, and then you close your eyes, you sit there and you go, okay, I need this in order for me to do my work. And then boom, shows fall into place. You booked stuff. Cash comes to you, you don't even know where it came from, right? That's kind of living your best life. That's what living your best life is, isn't it? A lot of the misconception around meditation is that you just sit there, close your eyes, and you don't do anything. So people go, that's a waste of my damn time. That is one part of meditation. That's more of the monastic lineages. If you're going to be a monk and sit on top of a mountain and pray for peace all day, then great, you can do that. The shamanic work is not that. We go into a meditative-like experience, but it's a lot more energetic. People have physical experiences or reactions. You can kind of think of it like I did this last weekend or 2 weekends ago, where it was with a bunch of friends' kids, and you read them like a bedtime story, and they're 5 and they're going to sleep, and they are living the story as you're reading it to them. They're fully in it. You put on your voices, and when you watch kids, they have this ability to go deep into their active imagination. A shamanic journey is like that. So you're being taken on a journey, and it's like Technicolor in your head and also in your body. Some people are, for me, it's more body-based. Some people are more visual. I move quite a bit in my journeys. I have visual experiences too, but I'm mainly body-based. So you're not left to be quiet. We're guiding you in a way where you're going to be able to tap into whatever it is that you need to see. Think of it like a waking dream.